How narcissists react when you don't chase them after they throw you away. Everyone, now we are going to discuss a less well-known but extremely important facet of narcissistic behavior. What happens when you decide not to pursue a narcissist after they have left? Have you ever given any thought to the repercussions that would result from your refusal to engage in their manipulative strategies? It is only after you stop providing a narcissist with the attention and approval that they seek that you will become aware of their irritation and hatred. They anticipate that you will want their favor, despite the fact that they have treated you inadequately. On the other hand, what happens if you quit participating in their game? By remaining silent, you are exposing their anxieties and weaknesses, so rejecting the exploitative techniques they employ. During our conversation, we are going to investigate the extent to which narcissists are dependent on the responses of others, as well as the acute feelings that they experience when things do not go their way. In spite of their outwardly confident demeanor, we will unearth the weakness and desperation that lies beneath it. Come along with us as we explore the power dynamics and emotional upheaval that are part of the narcissistic personality disorder. As we move forward, it is imperative that we acknowledge the significance of providing continuous support for these conversations. Your participation in the form of likes, shares, and subscriptions contributes to the formation of a community of comprehension, which in turn helps to disseminate insightful information to those who are in need of it. Let's take a look at the ways in which narcissism impacts relationships, particularly the ways in which ex-partners of narcissists attempt to exert control over the situation. Through the manipulation of timing, they are able to escape rejection and maintain their influence over the dynamics of the relationship. By gaining an understanding of these tendencies, we are able to handle these kinds of relationships with greater clarity and fortitude. In addition to exposing the strategies that narcissists employ, recognizing narcissistic patterns enables us to defend ourselves against emotional manipulation. Let's go on this journey together, and by the time we reach the end, we will be strengthened and wiser in our relationships. Furthermore, narcissists frequently perceive that other people are dependent on them, which adds to their sense of superiority and control over the entire situation. They have the expectation that you will pursue them in order to bolster their sense of self-importance and stoke their ego. Because they rely on your reactions, whether good or negative, for validation, it is possible that they will become enraged when you fail to match these expectations from them. They are made to feel vulnerable and harmed as a result of this denial. Due to the fact that they are no longer able to regulate their feelings, the anguish continues to persist because they have lost power over you. They start to blame you for their dissatisfaction, thinking that the reason for their misery is because you did not respond to them. According to their skewed perspective, you are the adversary, and you are presumably causing harm by failing to satisfy their requirements. Despite the fact that they have committed a multitude of wrongdoings, including lying, cheating, dishonoring, and eventually abandoning you, they start to view themselves as the victim. Because you are no longer putting yourself in harm's way for their benefit or making sacrifices for them as you once did, they are experiencing pain. When it comes to understanding the psychology of narcissists, individuals who are not familiar with it may find it difficult to comprehend. They are an entirely self-centered someone who is solely concerned with their own wants and requirements. When you are aware of this, your interactions with them can be improved, and you can get insight into their conduct. When confronted with their shortcomings or demands that are not being satisfied, narcissists frequently resort to manipulative strategies in order to maintain their sense of superiority and control. It's possible that they will use gaslighting as a means of distorting reality and manipulating you to question your own perceptions and emotions. Through manipulation, They are able to avoid taking responsibility for their actions and reinforce their perception that they are the victims. Narcissistic people, on the other hand, are obsessed with receiving attention and validation. In the event that they believe they are not receiving the adulation that they believe they are entitled to, they may react in a theatrical manner and employ a variety of strategies in order to recover attention. The behaviors that fall under this category might range from great gestures to creating falsehoods or disparaging others in order to promote myself. Many often, narcissists are unable to comprehend the consequences of their conduct, despite the fact that they bring harm to the relationships they have. They have a strong ability to rationalize their actions, viewing themselves as heroes who are misunderstood in their own narratives. Due to their lack of self-awareness, they continue to engage in the same unhealthy patterns of behavior, which prevents them from developing meaningful friendships that are founded on mutual respect and comprehension. When it comes to self-reflection and accountability, narcissists often attempt to avoid engaging in typical conduct. When they are unable to acknowledge their mistakes and make amends, they frequently place blame on others and refuse to accept responsibility for their actions. As a result of this lack of introspection, narcissists frequently fail to recognize chances for personal development, which makes interactions challenging. It is common for narcissists to harbor deep resentment and a desire for retribution, despite the fact that they may occasionally make attempts at reconciliation. Their attempts to repair relationships are derailed by cycles of resentment, which swing between concentration on perceived slights and pretended indifference. This causes their efforts to be eclipsed. The emotional roller coaster that consists of rage, retribution, and indifference is a barrier to actual progress and personal developmental growth. When narcissists are trying to retake control of their lives or repair their damaged sense of self-worth, they frequently resort to manipulative strategies. These strategies include covering in order to bring others back into their orbit, or rushing into new relationships in order to find validation. In most cases, these efforts are unsuccessful, which causes individuals to return to sentiments of frustration and self-pity, which in turn perpetuates dysfunction and makes it more difficult to find a permanent resolution. When confronted with a perceived threat to their ego or sense of superiority, narcissists frequently respond with tremendous wrath. This is because they are driven by an unquenchable thirst for confirmation and adoration. This fury is not transitory, but rather deeply ingrained, and it is provoked by feelings of rejection or criticism. Their complete intolerance for anything that poses a danger to their sense of self-worth makes it possible for them to engage in a variety of aggressive or manipulative behaviors. In addition, narcissistic anger is directly connected to the individual's sense of entitlement and their exaggerated sense of self-importance. It is possible for them to react with rage when they do not receive the adoration or compliance that they believe they are entitled to, since they may regard this as a direct assault on their perceived supremacy. Having this entitlement promotes their view that they are beyond reproach and entitled to special treatment, which makes it difficult for them to manage criticism or rejection in a calm manner without seeking retaliation. In conclusion, gaining an understanding of narcissistic anger requires acknowledging the intricate relationship that exists between the individual's fragile sense of self-worth, their ongoing need for validation, and their mistaken feeling of entitlement. Individuals can more effectively negotiate relationships with narcissists if they have a better grasp of the underlying dynamics that are at play. This allows them to establish boundaries to protect themselves from being manipulated, while simultaneously demonstrating empathy for the anxieties that are the driving force behind narcissistic behavior. We are grateful for your participation in the talks that we are having. We cannot thank you enough for being such an important part of our audience and for the insightful insights you have made. Painful suffering when narcissists experience separation, divorce, and abandonment. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we will delve into the intricate world of narcissistic behavior, exploring the aftermath of breakups and abandonment. In this thought-provoking video, we'll dissect the defensive mechanisms and coping strategies employed by narcissists as we unravel the complexities of their experiences during these tumultuous periods. Let's dive in. For a narcissist, a divorce or breakup from a significant relationship marks a substantial shift in their life and inflicts a profound narcissistic injury. Seeking solace and attempting to heal their wounded ego, the narcissist weaves a narrative filled with falsehoods, distortions, partial truths, and imaginative accounts of events. All narcissistic abusers rely on rigid, immature, or even antiquated defense mechanisms. These encompass denial, intellectualization, compartmentalization, projection, projective identification, and of course, narcissism. However, some narcissists take it a step further. Instead of confronting the harsh reality of their shortcomings, they retreat into self-delusion as a form of self-compensation. These narcissists limit themselves to a few options, partially disconnecting from reality. One of these coping mechanisms is masochistic avoidance. In this scenario, the narcissistic abuser punishes themselves for perceived shortcomings by directing some of their rage inward. The added advantage of this masochistic or self-punishing behavior is that it turns those closest to the narcissist into either troubled bystanders or adversaries. In both cases, they are compelled to provide the narcissist with the attention they desperately crave. This self-punishment often manifests as self-handicapping masochism, a strategy to evade accountability by undermining one's own efforts, relationships, and career. Ultimately, a narcissist's post-divorce decisions reflect their deep-seated fears and coping mechanisms. The narcissist is trapped in a painful cycle of self-destruction, ensnaring everyone around them in their chaotic and bewildering web. Intentionally steering clear of additional attention, stress, criticism, and disapproval, all forms of negative reinforcement, the narcissistic abuser's emotional stability continues to waver. They wield their self-inflicted failures as a weapon, a testament to their delusion of control and an assurance that they still dictate their own destiny. In their twisted thinking, they choose to fail. Masochistic abusers like these exhibit a peculiar talent for placing themselves in situations deliberately designed to thwart any chance of success. Milan argued that objectively assessing their performance is highly unlikely. Their behavior follows a pattern marked by caution, withdrawal during peak efforts, persistent fatigue, boredom, or disinterest, ultimately wreaking havoc on their lives through this passive-aggressive strategy. Their clearly defined suffering serves a purpose. It reinforces their perceived omnipotence as they refuse to give in. Public displays of self-pity and discontent act as compensatory measures, shielding the abuser's self-worth from the crushing burden of unworthiness, echoing Milan's insights once again. In their distorted perception, the challenges and suffering endured by narcissistic abusers make them feel special. They see themselves as significant, resilient, moral, virtuous, and saintly. Their pain becomes a source of self-generated narcissistic fuel. Ironically, the more agony and unhappiness they experience after a breakup, the greater the relief and euphoria they feel. In their eyes, initiating the abandonment has liberated them, setting them free. They assert that they never truly desired the commitment, directing blame towards their significant other's alleged despicable behavior, be it a spouse, partner, friend, or boss, contending that the relationship was doomed from the start. In their narrative, they consistently cast themselves as the victim, the misunderstood hero navigating a cruel and unfair world. The delusional narrative stands out as a fascinating and alarming phenomenon within the realm of narcissistic abusers. In this scenario, the narcissist concocts an elevated and often fantastical storyline where they emerge as the undisputed hero. Within this narrative, the narcissist perceives themselves as exceptionally intelligent, flawless, attractive, and destined for monumental success. They view themselves as inherently entitled, robust, affluent, and the focal point of attention. However, as this illusion increasingly diverges from harsh reality, the delusion gains strength, progressively overshadowing the abuser's grasp on reality. Over time, if left unchallenged, this delusion can become so deeply ingrained that the narcissist loses the ability to distinguish between fact and imagination. Consequently, they may begin to withdraw, severing relationships, and may exhibit symptoms of severe psychological conditions such as catatonia, schizoid personality disorder, or schizotypal personality disorder. Post-breakup, narcissistic abusers often display an antisocial response. They share several traits with individuals who engage in illegal activities, notably a lack of empathy and compassion, deficient social skills, and a blatant disregard for morals and societal norms. Gradually, they evolve into fully fledged antisocial individuals exhibiting characteristics associated with psychopathy or sociopathy. In this scenario, the narcissist dismisses the needs and desires of others, engaging in lawlessness, violating both legal and natural rights, and treating people with disdain. They openly defy established laws and mock social conventions and standards, showing contempt for the institutions that govern proper behavior. Viewing themselves as victims coerced into this position by ungrateful and unintelligent individuals in their surroundings, they retaliate by committing crimes that jeopardize others' property, lives, careers, and safety. From the narcissist's distorted perspective, these actions are seen as a form of retribution against those they believe have caused their downfall. This antisocial response to the end of a relationship and being discarded is a chilling manifestation of their skewed worldview. The narcissist's behavior at this stage serves as a stark reminder of the potentially destructive nature inherent in these disturbed individuals. Narcissistic abusers perceive seemingly innocuous daily interactions as personal attacks, developing hypersensitivity to their surroundings. They interpret every glance or sound as offensive, suspecting the spread of malicious rumors, mockery behind their backs, invasion of privacy, and unauthorized access to their emails. The survivor of narcissistic abuse perceives themselves as the central target in a global conspiracy aimed at discrediting and destroying them. They hold the belief that a concerted effort is underway to degrade them, seize their possessions, deceive and deprive them of money, curtail their physical and mental freedom, enforce the will of others upon them, and coerce them into actions or decisions against their wishes. This sense of being under attack leads them to feel pressured, surrounded, besieged, and compelled to compromise their morals and convictions, with fears escalating to the point of potential harm or assassination in extreme cases. In response to these perceived threats, some narcissistic abuse survivors may attempt to completely detach themselves from society, viewing the world as filled with malevolent and threatening individuals seeking to undermine them. It is crucial to understand that these perceived threats are projections and manifestations of the narcissist's inner anxieties and insecurities. Consequently, these individuals may choose to sever most social ties, avoiding new friendships, rejecting romantic relationships, abstaining from sexual encounters, refraining from engaging in conversations, and ceasing communication through any means. This isolation is driven by their distorted worldview, not social awkwardness or shyness. A constant narrative plays in their minds. The world, deemed cruel and sorrowful, is unworthy of their presence or contribution. This decision to isolate is not impulsive, but a direct consequence of their paranoid beliefs, serving as a defense mechanism against the perceived unreal dangers they continuously sense. This extreme reaction following a breakup serves as a disturbing illustration of the narcissistic abuser's capacity to deceive and isolate themselves, offering a stark reminder of the profound psychological damage stemming from a dangerously distorted sense of reality. Within the realm of psychological abusers, a troubling subset, characterized by persecutory delusions, exhibits an aggressive and often explosive behavior. These individuals, commonly identified as narcissists, resort to more violent methods to address their perceived problems as a way of coping with internal turmoil. They undergo a transformation into verbally, psychologically, and situationally abusive individuals, occasionally escalating to physical violence in extreme cases. The primary targets of their unwarranted outbursts are typically those closest to them, loved ones and well-wishers. In their efforts to belittle and mock their targets, narcissistic abusers unleash a barrage of taunts, reprimands, beratings and disparaging remarks. Outbursts of blame, judgment, and self-righteous outrage characterize their behavior. Their view of reality becomes disorganized and warped, interpreting even the most innocuous and unintentional comments as deliberate offenses aimed at degrading their sense of self. Every action and word is perceived by them as intended to be offensive to their identity. Due to their distorted perspective, they perceive the world as inherently against them, triggering malignant anger, disgust, dread, and hatred in response. Their actions resemble a foolish and pitiable spectacle, akin to Don Quixote's futile struggle against windmills in the face of life's harsh realities. Engaging in erratic behavior, they lash out at imaginary foes, often causing significant and lasting harm in the process. Unfortunately, the primary casualties of their actions are usually themselves. In the aftermath of a breakup, their response becomes particularly unpredictable. The loss of a relationship fuels their aggressive tendencies, intensifying their delusions and viewing the separation as a personal failure. This heightened violence stems from the belief that the breakup is a betrayal and an affront to their narcissistic sense of self. Their world transforms into a battleground, where every conversation holds the potential to escalate into a conflict, and every individual is perceived as a potential adversary. Rather than opting for self-isolation as a choice, they do so as a defensive mechanism against a perceived hostile world. Trapped within the confines of their self-constructed cage, they remain ensnared in their distorted reality. Paranoid and aggressive narcissistic abusers stand as a vivid testament to the profound psychological damage stemming from a dangerously skewed perspective of reality. Their violent actions manifest as a frantic and ultimately futile attempt to preserve their fragile sense of self, driven by persecutory fantasies. As we wrap up our exploration into the psychological aftermath of breakups with narcissistic abusers, we've uncovered the territories of paranoid aggression, antisocial behavior, and self-delusion. The self-destructive actions displayed by these individuals are both intriguing and worrisome, offering clear glimpses into the profound consequences of navigating a distorted reality. If you found this analysis compelling, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing. Your engagement encourages us to delve further into the intricate dimensions of human behavior. We value your willingness to join us on this captivating albeit often discomforting, journey through the realm of narcissistic responses to separation, divorce, and abandonment. How narcissists react when you don't chase them after they throw you away. Everyone, now we are going to discuss a less well-known but extremely important facet of narcissistic behavior. What happens when you decide not to pursue a narcissist after they have left? Have you ever given any thought to the repercussions that would result from your refusal to engage in their manipulative strategies? It is only after you stop providing a narcissist with the attention and approval that they seek that you will become aware of their irritation and hatred. They anticipate that you will want their favor, despite the fact that they have treated you inadequately. On the other hand, what happens if you quit participating in their game? By remaining silent, you are exposing their anxieties and weaknesses, so rejecting the exploitative techniques they employ. During our conversation, we are going to investigate the extent to which narcissists are dependent on the responses of others, as well as the acute feelings that they experience when things do not go their way. In spite of their outwardly confident demeanor, we will unearth the weakness and desperation that lies beneath it. Come along with us as we explore the power dynamics and emotional upheaval that are part of the narcissistic personality disorder. As we move forward, it is imperative that we acknowledge the significance of providing continuous support for these conversations. Your participation in the form of likes, shares, and subscriptions contributes to the formation of a